And then that came out and you're like, whoa, this is like refreshing. It's like,
you're froze again.
It's
recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And this week, John Rajcich returns back for some more hot music talk. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has recently announced this year's nominees, and we're going to discuss each one of these selections along with some famous snubs that we feel deserve to be included as well. So let's get right into this and help me welcome back to the show the only guy that I can think of doing this episode with due to his vast musical knowledge and his eclectic tastes in rock and roll. He's my buddy, Mr. John Rajcich. Woo! Woo! Johnny! How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Man, it was weird this morning. I get out of my car 5:30 in the morning. Smelled like off-brand Fruit Loops and cheap marijuana, so the day was started out kind of weird.
Wow. Okay. Were you eating Fruit Loops or smoking marijuana?
No, unfortunately, neither. That's just downtown Seattle for you.
All right. All right. And you said the weather's been, it was sunny today, huh?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's time to celebrate. I'm sorry for keeping you in during Sorry about that. I know how valuable that is in Seattle.
Yeah, I don't do anything anyway, so this is cool. This is a step up from my usual activity.
How's your duck doing?
Well, some of them have died. Some of them are still alive.
Oh,
so
okay. Wow.
Depends on the duck.
Way to start off the episode here.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Mo.
Oh, Mal? Is it like Mallard? Mal?
No, Mo.
Oh, Mo. Okay.
Yeah. She had a mohawk.
Oh, wow. I remember my next door neighbors growing up, they had a duck named Keebler. I think it was Keebler. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
nice.
It's about the only duck that I really knew growing up.
Just one duck.
That's it. And they'd just swim around in a circle in a little pool.
Just catch it at the lake or something.
I have no idea, but I wouldn't put it past them. That sounds like them. Yeah. All right, dude. Well, we are here today to celebrate the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The nominees came out.
Yeah, I didn't know until you asked me about this. So basically, my feelings on the Hall of Fame are, it's kind of expanded way beyond its original intent, because way back in the first few years, it was actually all the pioneers of actual rock and roll era, and now it's branched out so far because just that's how music is, and time passes and everything branches out. So for me, yeah, exactly. So I feel like the nominees need to at least be a huge influence in their genre, an undeniable success, or an iconic figure who has this gravitational pull to their style and just kind of catapults that style into the mainstream. So that's kind of my thoughts on what I feel like the Hall of Fame is kind of should have evolved to be these days.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. It should be about, influence. It should be a combination, right? Like they have some of these bands that are just, it seems like they like them, what's his name? Jan Winter, or is that his name? The Rolling Stone guy, the guy that was the creator of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like some of these guys, they're like, well, we like this group, that's why we're putting them in. And we're like, okay, but that's weird.
Yeah,
they have some sort of cred, like some sort of hit or influence. Or...
I'd say about 30% of the actual inductees are of that ilk. So I'm trying to avoid that out of the list today. There's some of the bands I really like, I just don't feel like it's their time yet, or they just don't meet the requirements that I was talking about earlier.
So that's what we're going to do. we're going to name off, kind of like in alphabetical order here, we're going to name off the nominees for this year. And then we're going to discuss a little bit about them. And then we'll pick out who we feel should be in the Hall of Fame. And then I thought we'd mix it up by selecting who we think will be voted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Will probably be different for both of us. So, all right. So let's just start this off. The first nominee on the list is Kate Bush. Having this song stuck in my head for the last 2 hours.
Yeah. Anyone who's seen Stranger Things or has a TikTok account has heard this song and discovered who Kate Bush was.
Right.
And it's really weird. My one of my good friends randomly sent me a link to one of her songs the other day, and it was really good. I was like, oh, she does got one more song than that Stranger Things song. And yeah, she's pretty
big in the UK, which is interesting because she had a number of hits in the UK. In the United States, she's a one-hit wonder, but she's barely a one-hit wonder in the United States. That song "Running Up That Hill" it hit number 30 on the US charts, like back in the day. I don't know, 85 or something like that. It actually became a top 10 hit just last year because of Stranger Things. Yeah. When it hit number 3. But I mean, in the States though, there's a lot of people that didn't even know that song. And I was like, well, I mean, I definitely knew the song. I definitely knew that song. But did you not know that song?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's a great song, and I'm glad I did hear it.
Right.
So yeah, I guess a good place for her to be would be in the British Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not saying I don't like her, I just don't think she has the mainstream success that the United States Hall of Fame kind of requires.
All right, so I mean, like you said, I know a couple of songs, but not very well. I mean, obviously the Stranger Things song, but yeah. All right, moving on to Sheryl Crow. All I wanna do is have some fun. I got a feeling. Sheryl Crow is the next on the list, and you know it's funny. Sheryl Crow had a huge 4-album run, like with big songs on each one of these albums, and Sheryl Crow is like one of those. She kind of like sounds like a classic rock artist from the 90s.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, that is classic now.
yeah. But when it was even coming out, I was like, this kind of sounds like the Stones or something. Some of these songs sounded like, classic rock songs from back in the day, which is probably why she was so big. And she was always hanging out with the classic rock guys like Keith Richards and Don Henley and all those guys. What do you think about Sheryl Crow?
So the first time I heard her was, I think we probably all heard her, was the All I Want to Do Is Have Some Fun song. I really liked that song. Mm-hmm. And after that, it was downhill. I mean, her songs were fine to me, and I did like some of them, but man, that first song was really good. And yeah, it's kind of, I don't think she has the impact required at this point. I don't know. Is she still making music?
I don't know. I think she
kind of go country.
Well, she had kids, I think, and that always kind of slows down a career, especially if you're a mom. But there was a run between like 93 and 2002, I think it was, where she was putting out a bunch of songs. But I'm gonna disagree with on one point. The second album that she came out with, which is her self-titled album that came out in like 1996, I think it was. That is one of my favorite albums of the 90s, which is very strange to say a Sheryl Crow album is it's one of my favorite albums of the 90s. But
did it make you happy?
It did. It made me very happy. No, look, John, a change will do you good. All right. I just got to say no, but there's that album. If you listen to it all the way through, it's like one of those albums that's like it's a solid album all the way through. And it's a cohesive album in my opinion. And a lot of people questioned her after that first album because they called it the Tuesday Night Music Club or whatever, and it was all those guys that she played with, and they were like, "Oh, it's those guys that are the talent." And she kind of proved them wrong with that second album, in my opinion. But all right, so that's Sheryl Crow. All right, Missy Misdemeanor Elliott.
Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
So. Big rap star back in like what, the late 90s, early 2000s. It was kind of like the peak heyday of Missy Elliott. What are your thoughts on Missy Elliott?
Well, one thing that was really cool about her, she kind of was a big part of the migration of hip hop back into the mainstream.
Yeah.
Even if it was in the mainstream before that, but I don't think it could have got as far without her. Her, like, I don't remember. Do you remember her music video? She had like this really cool style, big inflatable outfit she'd wear.
Yeah, I always look at it and be like, it looks like she's in like garbage bags, like blown up. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
What is this?
Yeah, and her music was definitely different. Had a very interesting style, so it was kind of set apart from the normal pop hip hop music of the time. So I think she definitely had an impact. If she was picked, I would be comfortable with that, but she was definitely a unique person during that time. And so she's kind of on that period where, when are they eligible to get into the Hall of Fame? Because a lot of 90s people are starting to pop up on the list.
Sock It To Me, Hot Boys, Get Your Freak On was the big one. Work It. Another huge song, Lose Control, as well as she was a pretty prolific producer in her own right too. So she produced a lot of other acts as well. So yeah, I mean,
Gossip Folks with Ludacris. Man, that's still on my playlist.
Yep. So there's some big, like you said, some influence there with Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. All right. Okay, next on the list is Iron Maiden.
Iron
Maiden. John, how do you feel about Iron Maiden?
Well, they got a real cool name, and they had really cool posters with Eddie.
Yeah.
Actually,
ever.
Yeah, I got an Eddie collectible Funko Pop. I'm really proud of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know Ethan kind of introduced me to Maiden, and I was never the hugest fan of Bruce Dickinson's singing voice.
Kind of like this one, right? Kind of like the Geddy Lee kind of sound, is where it's kind of like, I love the music so much, but
exactly. But then some of his songs, it wasn't like really, I don't know if you call it operatic singing voice, but it was definitely the higher, powerful singing. But man, their music was really good, and it's still really good. They had a huge impact on metal, and I don't think there's no way metal would be where it is today without them. And I actually think their skill and musical style is beyond a lot of the metal out today. So metal today has got some catching up to do.
I think you're right, man. Like this one for me, I'm just going to lay it out there. This is a slam dunk, in my opinion. Long overdue. I think this band is one of the most iconic hard rock metal bands in history. And they sell out stadiums with essentially no radio airplay, which is insane. Think about that. I mean, radio airplay now is like nothing. I mean, it's like all Spotify and all these different kind of see stuff. But back in the day, like, how do you even? It's crazy. Like, you know, those groups like Metallica pre the MTV, when they were doing MTV videos and stuff like that, and then Maiden and stuff like that. I mean, they had like what most people that aren't into Iron Maiden kind of like myself, could name like a couple songs, you know?
Yeah.
But their influence, like you said, man, like the band is tight. The album artwork is like some of the best in history. They are rock and roll, and they bleed rock and roll as far as, you know, their influence on so many bands. I think that they have to be in. Like, you think of like rock and roll, like the rock and roll title. It's like, dude, how more rock and roll does it get than Iron Maiden? You know,
not much, man.
Come on.
Yeah, it's like Sabbath. I mean, they're kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, except they have a cooler mascot.
Yeah.
Mascot. Does anybody else have a mascot? Like, what are the other mascots?
Everybody should have a mascot, but unfortunately they don't. I'll be their mascot if somebody needs one.
Yeah. I mean, what the Beatles have like an apple? I mean, come on. Like, Eddie's cooler than an apple. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so this one's an interesting one to me. So, Joy Division and New Order. For the first time I could ever remember, they split.
Yeah, I was confused.
I
was like, what? Did they were they just trying to save space on the list?
Yeah, I mean, like they don't do that with other bands like the Box Tops and Big Star. I've never. I don't. What we could just do that now or what?
Yep.
Like, I don't know. So what are your thoughts on but again, I like both of these groups because apparently they're the same thing. Actually, they're kind of like the same thing because the lead singer died and then they just formed New Order. But John, what are your thoughts on Joy Division and New Order?
Many of the kids in high school I thought were really cool, like these guys. But I could never really get into them. Although I recently had a friend who shared Age of Consent from New Order, which sounds like a terrible name. But it's a good song. I really like it. And it was good to hear some songs from a band or bands, I guess, who I signed off on and wasn't interested to hear a really good song by him. It's good to still be surprised by that kind of stuff. Got to keep an open mind. But they're basically the godfathers of emo.
Yeah, pretty much. They're kind of like them and kind of like The Cure and them and like Love Will Tear Us Apart is the big, the song that people would probably know by Joy Division. And then they went on to have even bigger success with like Blue Monday, with New Order.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and,
for sure.
Bizarre Love Triangle and True Faith. They're another one of those bands that were like way bigger in the UK than they were here. But in the dance scene, kind of like when you were back in your clubbing days, John.
Yeah,
it played that in all the clubs. What was that? The Phoenix Underground. You're like,
yep. The remix of Blue Monday was big.
Yes, Orgy. That was good.
Yeah,
that was great.
Exactly. Yep.
That was a good song. So, all right, moving on to Cyndi Lauper. Man, she's unusual. She's so unusual.
Yes, she is.
Yeah. So, John, what are your thoughts on Cyndi Lauper?
Man, she's like one of the iconic characters of the 80s. She showed up on wrestling, WWF wrestling, and it was pretty awesome. And but can a character get nominated? She had great music. I mean, she had plenty of hits. Like you would find her on a Greatest Hits of the 80s CD.
Yeah, I mean the first album is iconic. Yeah, right. Yeah. That first album, huge.
I remember getting it on, going to the store and getting it on vinyl when I was a kid when it came out. Back when you could still buy vinyl because that's all they had.
Yeah. Yeah. I have it hanging on my wall downstairs on the 80s wall. So yeah.
I just don't see her impacting it as much. Maybe I just need to do more research to see who she influenced, but no, I don't.
Are you overlooking the Goonies are good enough, Johnny?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's probably the highlight of her, in my opinion.
Well, so that first album was monstrous. She had like Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Time After Time, She Bop, Money Changes Everything. And then the next year? I think it was the Goonies or
Goonies are good enough.
Yeah, Goonies are good. I'm surprised it didn't turn it around like Toys R Us. And then it kind of trailed off a bit, kind of like you said. It was like, oh, okay, well, and then she had True Colors, which I've never been a huge fan
Kodak
of.
commercial.
Yeah. And then after that, I'm like, okay, now she just does like skin commercials and stuff with her. She has really cool pink hair and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I don't remember really.
I mean, I got to give her that. I don't have cool pink hair.
I've always thought that her and the girl from Ghostbusters, the secretary, were like, almost like the same. Are they sisters? She's like, Ghostbusters.
Oh my gosh, no way, yeah.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
All right.
I bet, yeah, secret.
See? All right. Okay, moving on. George Michael. He had those two monstrous albums, Faith and Listen Without Prejudice. But John, what are your thoughts on George Michael?
So this is funny. This morning, my notes said didn't have an impact at all. And then that was it. But then I was like, I need to revisit this because, I mean, he was a big figure. I was like, all right, I need to spend more time on this. And so, I mean, he was a really great role model for the LGBTQIA community.
Yeah.
And I mean, when he got caught strolling through a bathroom and outed as and so he was like forcibly outed as gay, and then rather than hide it or whatever or come up with excuses, he just remained proud and true to himself.
Right.
And that was in an era when it was very taboo.
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff. So I think that was a big thing for people who were struggling during that era. And I mean, that was thanks to all those people who are trying to force their beliefs on everyone else. But
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like,
yeah, it wasn't his music. I mean, Freedom 90.
Singer. He was actually a really good singer.
Yeah, he gave the world probably one of the top 10 Christmas songs ever.
Yeah. Last Christmas, which is kind of like a depressing song.
Dude.
You listen to it, you're like, oh, it's kind of
it's kind of a bummer.
It's a good song though. Yeah, I mean, he had that song with Freedom 90 with like all the supermodels and stuff in the bathroom, and looking back at that, it's kind of a poignant song about after learning about all the stuff that he ended up going through. It was like, oh, cool, freedom, yeah. And you can't forget Faith, and this is just the title. I Want Your Sex, and Father Figure.
Yeah, dude.
Remember I think I used to sing that. It's like, John, I want to be.
Yep.
You're like, stop singing that song. No. And I always like the McCartney-esque Heal the Pain. That's a good song. I do like that song. But my question is, John, is this going to include Wham? Because aren't we including like both groups now? What is this? Like, if you include Wham and George Michael, I mean, I don't know. Are we going to start doing that? Because like he started out with Wham. What about poor Andrew Ridgeley? What happens with that?
He probably is poor.
That's like inducting Hall & Oates, and we're like, sorry, Oates, you're not. Can you stay on the side of the stage over there? Thanks, buddy.
I was kind of looking into Simon and Garfunkel, wondering if Paul Simon was individual from Simon and Garfunkel, just because Paul Simon went on to have this amazing solo career, and I don't think just Paul Simon was inducted.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, he's a major. I mean, he's the guy. He literally wrote every hit. Yeah, every hit they ever had, and I know that they're like the one song that kind of annoys me in their catalog is the one song that Garfunkel took lead vocals on, which is Bridge Over Troubled Water, which is funny because there is a version that Paul Simon does in concert, and he does that song, and I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of like this song better like this with him singing it than I do with all the, Phil Spector production of that. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. George Michael, he'll probably eventually get in, but maybe this isn't like his time right now to.
That's exactly what I said.
No.
I said he can go there someday. I just don't think right now.
You're just not in my time.
Yeah.
No. All right. Next up, Willie Nelson.
The road again. I just can't wait to get on the road again.
Our boy Willie Nelson. I mean, hey, Johnny. Dolly Parton's in. Johnny Cash is in.
Yep.
Come on, right? So
floodgates are open.
Yeah, check this out. Willie Nelson, if he is inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, he will be 90 years old if he goes up on stage and plays. 90 years old.
Yeah. Wow.
That's wild. Has there ever been someone that old like perform? And I think he still tours, right? He still tours. So what are your thoughts on Willie Nelson?
I didn't have much to say just because he should be in there already. He's undeniable. The thing I like about who they're letting in from the country music is they are definitely that like old rebel type country music that had a lot of ties to rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I've never really been a country fan, but I'm definitely like a fan of Willie, Johnny Cash for sure, Dolly Parton. Nobody can not like Dolly Parton.
I know.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think this is a natural progression of kind of like breaking open the floodgates for country artists to start coming in the Hall of Fame. Completely
agree. He's one of the first outlaws in country. Wrote one of the greatest songs in pop music with Crazy. I mean, he's legendary. So I would say that, they better induct Waylon frickin' Jennings next year if Willie gets in this year, because Waylon is just as much, if not as important to the country outlaws and country rock as we know it.
Yeah, totally.
Those two are hand in hand, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're like the roots of country.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for those outlaws. I love the outlaws. Now, I've never really been super into like just regular mainstream country, but I love my outlaws. And I like some Southern rock and all that good stuff. All right, John, Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah,
Rage Against the Machine. What are your thoughts on Rage Against the Machine?
So I'm pretty torn because I love Rage Against the Machine and I really love their Rage Against the Machine. But I feel like maybe in a worse year with less of a pool of people that should get in, they might be inducted. Okay. But out of the rock/rap white guys, they're right at the top, right up there.
They are way up there. Yeah, I think that kind of like, how, Beastie Boys and Anthrax. I'm trying to think of like groups that kind of started the Run DMC.
Yeah.
Groups that kind of like started the rap rock kind of thing.
Yeah, they definitely Run DMC. Yeah.
They really took it to a new level and added even more rock and their own style to it. And they're kind of like what? They're kind of like almost like the first of that kind of era of rap rock, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Do you remember that movie Judgment Night where the whole soundtrack was metal bands paired with hip hop artists?
Oh yeah.
So that was kind of a precursor to this, but
right.
So it was kind of building for a while.
Yeah.
But just Tom Morello's guitar on there, I was like, oh, they got a DJ, man. He's scratching. I'm like, where's the DJ? And it's the guy on the guitar is doing it. What the hell is going on?
He's like, so good. Yeah, but they had that Killer 3 album run with the debut album in '92, and then Evil Empire and the Battle of Los Angeles. So those, and they had the cover one, but those three right there are like just classics. And my question is, if Joy Division gets to go in with New Order, do they get to go in with Audio Slave? Or I mean, where's this going to stop here? Come on. Because isn't that the same kind of deal?
Yeah. If you compare those two up, they should have been in the year they came out.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, these guys are already in.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Let's just skip the red tape and not even do the ceremony. Just put them in there.
All right. Well, this kind of leads into our next one.
Yep.
Soundgarden.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
Yeah.
Mighty Soundgarden. So, of all the big four Seattle bands, these guys should definitely be in. I mean, what, they have Nirvana and Pearl Jam's in, right? Pearl Jam's in now. And so it's just only Alice in Chains and Soundgarden are not in the Hall of Fame. So, John, thoughts on Soundgarden?
I was saying they should already be in there along with Alice in Chains. And Pearl Jam should be on this list, not Soundgarden.
Right?
Because I don't think Pearl Jam had the impact that everybody assumes they do. I don't know how they got the tagged with the like big grunge sound, because they're not grunge. They're not
almost classic rock.
The Seattle sound. Yeah, they were good. I mean, they're really good, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just that era had that sound, the Seattle sound, and these guys were basically the pinnacle of that. And the Lord basically placed Soundgarden on this earth as preemptive strike on hair metal. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, you have Bad Motorfinger, which is like a straight up metal rock album, and then the next album is kind of like almost like a psychedelic kind of feel to it, especially with some of the songs on there, which is why I really was drawn to that. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And he'd always say in interviews that he was like a huge John Lennon Beatles fan as well. So it makes sense that he would kind of do that kind of stuff. But man, I mean, come on. He's not even in. He needs to be in. Look, he's not there. He's not going to be singing or anything like that. But the rest of the guys, they're still here. So I think they need to be in. Yeah. They saved rock music from that generic glossy pop metal from the early 90s, which I'm guilty. I love some of that stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Sure,
I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I don't, but skinny pop. Yeah, I listen to that stuff. But
it's fun. It's like junk food music,
right? Yeah, it's like you're gonna tune in to like one of their videos or something like that. You're gonna see like some hot chick, what was that, Bobby Brown or whatever her name was? Remember that chick?
With Cherry Pie video?
Yeah, Cherry Pie. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, never heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I mean, look, that stuff was fun, but it's not something that doesn't have staying power like these bands. I mean, these bands they're so big now, Those other bands, like, I don't know. I just listen to some of those albums sometimes and I'm like, it's all right. It's okay.
Well, and their influence, Soundgarden and the other Seattle groups, they definitely had the impact, and it's just kind of spread out like a tree branches going out from that era. Yeah,
they're like immediately killed off, and they had to. Yeah, like a lot of those bands are like, well, I guess we need to be grunge now, or
some of those were funny.
Were having it. Was there an actual band of the 90s glam that made a successful grunge sounding album? I don't think there was.
No, but MC Hammer tried to make gangster rap.
Oh my God. Oh, that was great. And he dropped the MC, by the way, right? He's like, I am just Hammer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hammer. All right. Okay, moving on. The 60s, 70s, and 80s R&B soul group, the Spinners.
Whenever you call me, I'll be there. Whenever you want me.
The Spinners, John. What do you think about the Spinners?
The Spinners, they had a huge impact. They're basically the architects of the Philadelphia soul sound. And they had huge crossover hits, which is a big deal for the R&B of that era. I think they definitely deserve to be inducted just for those reasons alone. Their impact.
Bunch of hits. Yeah. I'll Be Around.
Yeah.
Could It Be I'm Falling in Love? One of a Kind, Love Affair. Then Came You, huge hit. And my personal favorite, The Rubber Band Man.
Hey, y'all, prepare yourself for the rubber band. Man.
Hell yeah, dude.
Song. How can you not
Guardians
like
of
that
the
song?
Galaxy.
I dare people to listen to their catalog of, tune on to put on their greatest hits, flip that on. And I dare you to feel bad listening to their music. It's feel good music.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
And one thing I read about them is they got big after leaving Motown. So they struck it out on their own and became what they were. So that's a big deal because a lot of people were tied to Motown, and these guys did it on their own.
In the 70s, I think. Yeah. That's when the big hits came. Yeah. So for that genre, fantastic. I, again, listen to some Spinners music and think you'll be in a good mood. It's one of those bands.
Yep.
All right, moving on to the next group in our catalog here. A huge rap group that peaked in the early to mid 90s, A Tribe Called Quest.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario?
Johnny, what are your thoughts on A Tribe Called Quest?
One of the weird things about a lot of these bands I discovered in college was that they were out there when we were in high school, and I had no clue about these groups.
Yeah.
And so the Tribe Called Quest was probably one of the best 90s hip hop groups in existence, but they were more of an underground sensation. But because of that, they kind of fueled the reemergence of the underground hip hop culture of the 2000s that got really big. Basically, there was brought back turntablism, graffiti art, the breakdancing, the three staples of the hip hop genre. And because it seemed like in the late 90s, hip hop kind of lost its soul and just became pop.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see that there's a reason that they shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame for the amount of impact they had on hip hop, kind of bringing back what it was.
There's a big resurgence of them
80s.
too. I see a lot of people talking about their influence and how I don't know if it's the first album they talk about, like as far as being like so impactful. But you like you said, I didn't know a lot of their songs from back in the day. I knew like Scenario and Electric Relaxation to a lesser extent, but yeah, no, I always keep seeing the influence and stuff like that. And like I think they also had like a big 3-album run that is very influential in R&B, rap, that kind of genre. But yeah, I think that they are one of those groups that had like something to say, like with their music too. So a lot of, like you said,
meaningful.
A lot of stuff is like kind of like, like the rap kind of went on and like just became like, all right, now it's party music time to, and again, I love that kind of stuff, but like, we're going to party like it's your birthday. I love it, but yeah, like some of these groups had something to say. And I think that was one of them.
Yep.
All right. We're getting closer to the end here, but first we have the White Stripes. And a duo out of, where are they from? Detroit? Isn't that where we're from?
Yeah. Pretty sure. So
Johnny, what are your thoughts on the White Stripes?
I do like the White Stripes, but they kind of sound like a really cool garage band who happened to be in the right place at the right time and got in like famous. They I mean, just the fact that they're a duo but put out what they did was impressive. And just from researching them, I didn't see them having a huge influence on anyone else besides Jack White's future bands.
No, yeah, White Stripes, man, Jack White's talents are, I mean, he's definitely he's the singer, he's the guitarist, he's like he makes like bass sounds. He's nuts. Like if you like watch it, I remember I wanted to see them when I think it was like right when that Elephant album came out, and I was doing construction down in Portland. And I was like, you know what? They're coming to town. I think I'm going to go to go to the show. And then I saw the tickets and I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to the show. It was like $200. I was like, whoa,
wow.
Okay. This is I think I'm going to miss out on this one. But
if anything, I would think Jack White should be on this.
I mean, the White Stripes have some good stuff, man. They have like that Hotel Yorba and Fall in Love with a Girl, Seven Nation Army. I mean, that's a stadium song across the entire planet now, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Inky Thumb. Yeah. I really like that intro to Inky Thumb. Some of their early stuff was actually real dirty sounding, cool, stripped down bare stuff. That's actually when I first heard them, and they started putting out their newer stuff, and I was like, whoa, these guys just suddenly got really big.
Yeah. Yeah. Hardest Button to Button. I always love that song. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And remember back in the day, it was like, are they married? Are they brother and sister? What's going on here? What is this? Who are they? And they're the White Stripes. All they wear is red. What's going on here? Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I do like the White Stripes though.
Yeah, I do too.
Last but not least, Warren Zevon. The singer-songwriter who's most famous for Werewolves of London, but he has a number of other hidden gems as well. John, what are your thoughts on Warren Zevon?
His other hidden gem was Lawyers, Guns, and Money, and that's where I lost interest. I was trying to find more about him that I liked because I always hear about him. To me, he just sounds like a mix of Elton John and Lou Reed. I mean, he had some really cool hits, and I don't know, maybe it'd take more research to find out what kind of impact he had, but I just wasn't seeing it. That one album, you know, the red one. Yeah, that's a big one. Excitable Boy is another song that is of note on that album. Yeah, there's some classic tunes off that record. I'm kind of with you where I'm not a Warren Zevon aficionado. I don't know everything about Warren Zevon. I know that he's huge with there's a segment of the population who are huge fans of Warren Zevon. And I'll tell you this, I don't know if you ever heard that last song that he did on the very last record that he put out. He died of cancer and he was like recording this song. Yeah. And it was, I remember that. Keep Me in Your Heart. Total tearjerker. But I remember my dad, he's like, of course, you know, my dad's always like, I'm putting together this death playlist. I'm like, oh, that's great. You want a funeral playlist? I like how he's been making this. He's been building this playlist for like 35 years. And I'm like, what do you want to add this time? He's like, I want that Warren Zevon song. So my dad's playlist of, you know, death songs. I don't know how long it is now, but it's long. I mean, we're talking like, and by the way, how would I feel about this? I'm like, hey everyone, come to my dad's celebration of life. And like everyone's like, dude, this is gonna be awesome. This is gonna be a party. And I'm like, I got some news for you guys. It's not gonna be that great. And they're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, well, I mean, my dad has a list of like 30 songs that remind him of death, and that's what he wants to be remembered by. Oh man! And they're like, oh, that's awesome. Now sit here quietly and listen. It's like, you will sit here, you will listen, and you will reflect about how sad it is that I'm gone. I'm like, oh, but you always play party music, but now you want us to be sad? Like, all right, okay. Yeah, so, all right. Okay, John, before we give our picks, I had a question for you, because this is a question that always comes up. Always comes up. Should Ted Nugent be in the Hall of Fame? My stepdad had a lot of his records.
Some thoughts on this too. Say that again?
My stepdad had a lot of his records. Wango Tango.
Okay.
But he's good. I mean, I don't know much about him. I know he likes to hunt things.
Yeah.
I know some of his songs, and they're definitely like classic rock staples.
Right.
I would have to look into it more to see if what kind of impact and stuff he had.
I know these awards, especially like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and stuff like that, can often be very political. But
of course,
politics aside, is he deserving? Well, one of the best classic rock songs of all time is Stranglehold, which is a fantastic song. It's like 8 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. But he's not singing on that song. That's some other dude that's singing like that first album. He wasn't the lead singer on that first album. But the guitar is fantastic. The music's fantastic. Cat Scratch Fever? That's a staple.
Yeah, man.
That's a staple.
Good song.
Now, we were saying with some of these other artists, it kind of trails off after that. Like he kind of, like Wango Tango, Yank Me, Crank Me. All right, I guess. Like they're okay. But maybe Free for All. I think Meatloaf sang some songs on the Free for All album. But I don't know. I think he's definitely a fantastic guitarist.
Can't deny that. Yeah.
But to me, I think there are a ton of other artists that deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before Ted Nugent. And I do have a list of like 20 other people that should be in. But first, John, I want to hear your thoughts on who you think should be in the Hall of Fame.
Some of these have been nominated but haven't made it in, but some of them haven't even been nominated, so I got a little mixed bag. My first one is Conga Al-Andar. He's one of the most famous Tuvan throat singers.
Wow.
He successfully combined Mongolian throat singing with hip hop on the album Back Tuva Future. He was the main inspiration for groups like Muse, Linkin Park, and Bette Midler.
Interesting. For real?
Yeah. No, I'm fucking with you, dude.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. To John for this weird stuff here. All right.
I do like him though. He's pretty sweet though. But anyways, so my first one is B-52s.
Oh.
I mean, every art school student from the mid '80s to the early 2000s, maybe even now. I don't know. I haven't been in art school for a while, but they're pretty pissed that they're not in the Hall of Fame. They're really corny and kitschy, but they're like in the best ways that you can be that. And if you can find a better vocal harmony than Kate Pearson and Cindy Wilson, man, please let me know, because I haven't heard anything that beautiful in a long time.
Well, it's like the yin and the yang too. You have like Rock Lobster, like, and I've got me a car and it says Peck as a whale, and then you have the good singers over here, the Beehives,
like
and like
Sweet and Sour Chicken.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know anybody that hates the B-52s. Do you?
No, I could probably ask around at work and find a couple.
What? What's your favorite B-52 song?
I'd say Rome.
Rome, okay.
Yeah, just because there's so much vocal harmonies on that one.
Yeah, that's a good song. I always liked Mesopotamia.
Mm-hmm.
And Mesopotamia. Who else you got on your list, buddy?
So Alice in Chains, we talked about them earlier. Their music was just so fresh and powerful. Yeah. You just can't deny it. Other than that, I got Belle and Sebastian. They're probably one of the top indie groups to exist that you might never have heard of.
Okay.
I mean, their music is amazing. It's like a dream that feels like your best memories, in my opinion.
Whoa.
And the lyrics are just very poignant and thoughtful. And that means a lot, because I usually don't like lyrics at all. I don't really listen to them. As long as they sound good, I'm cool.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where I actually listened to the lyrics. I don't really like a lot of their newer stuff, but man, back when their like first 6 albums were like dynamite.
Dang. So when did they come out? 90s?
Yeah, I think it's weird because I started listening to them in college and they'd been around a while before that. So I'm guessing early 90s would be my kind of uneducated guess. And I mean, they just put a new album out recently. Another one is Daft Punk.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's been talks of them not being in. I mean, besides Kraftwerk, this group, they're basically one of the pioneers of electronica house music.
Right.
And yeah, pretty much any remix of your favorite pop song is from those guys' sound.
I love me some Daft Punk.
Their influence.
I'm definitely not a hater.
Yeah, if you want to shake that ass and wear a cool robot helmet, then you need some Daft Punk.
Were you upset a couple of years ago when the robots split?
Yeah, that was kind of weird because it's like they've been there for so long. And so you're like, hey, we're not doing this anymore. I'm like, but you're robots. Why do you care?
Yeah, right. Like, did they ever do the thing where Kiss did, where like they unveiled the robot masks or whatever, or are they really robots?
I hope not, because when Kiss did that was that was not right. It was like put the makeup back on, please.
Yeah.
You're not the prettiest. Yeah. So I got Pixies.
Oh, Pixies, massive influential band. Yep.
Yeah, I used to trade going to high school in 10th grade. There's this guy in my biology class who used to trade CDs, and he gave me Doolittle. And it's still one of my favorite albums of all time. Like, I listen to it like pretty often, like constantly. And so it's like one of those groups I don't listen to for long periods, but then I always come back to them. And just about the majority of the alternative artists of the 90s were inspired by the Pixies.
Yeah,
so
Nirvana
kind of
always notates them as influences. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of weird they're not in there. Weezer. I mean, they're getting right towards the time frame that they should be getting in there soon. I
think they're eligible now. I think maybe 94.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, because they're right around the term. So I kind of expect to start seeing them. Their music is just really whimsical and it's not very complex or anything, but it still is like it really, really hits you good.
I remember you and I listened to that a lot. This is like refreshing. It's like President of the United States of America.
Yeah. Like, Foo Fighters.
Yeah. Foo Fighters. Exactly. Just perfectly that era right there. Yeah. So, all right. Any other?
I just got two more.
Okay.
And so back into the hip hop genre, I really love Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang.
I love them so much. I had to get a tattoo of them.
No way.
Oh yeah. It's on my leg. Where all my other tattoos are because I got big legs. But
what's real estate to cover?
Yeah, I mean they define the Staten Island hip hop sound, which I'm trying to think of other groups from Staten Island, but with as many members there on the group, they would probably have to build a new wing. So that's probably why they aren't in.
How many people are in that group?
Depends on
what year?
Depends on the year, but
yeah,
I don't know if I can remember them all. But yeah, the last one is a little more serious, but it's also kind of a confusing one for me because Weird Al.
It doesn't matter what you had for lunch, just eat it.
This one's hard because he's a parody artist, right? But he's a huge icon of the music industry since the early 80s.
And he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall because he should be.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like, do they need to build a little special cubby off on his own? It's kind of an interesting thought there. So I wasn't really sure what I thought if he should be in, but I feel like he should. But then again, it's like musically, he's parodying.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, because then you'd put what you could have Weird Al, you could have Bob Rivers in there, you could have all these different kind of parody artists.
Oh, who's the guy whose show used to be on? Oh, I knew it this morning.
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so these artists are all artists that I wrote down that should be in before, and the only reason I'm bringing up Ted Nugent is because he always comes up in the conversation. So that's why I'm bringing up these artists specifically, because I think that all of them should be in before Ted Nugent. And again, not just picking on Ted Nugent, but they are all more deserving than Ted Nugent. Bad Company had a huge run in the 70s. Bad Company could be in. Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
They're not in?
The Guess Who.
Wow.
The Guess Who.
Yeah.
Huey Lewis and the News. Come on. Huey. Come on, Huey Lewis.
Yeah. Huey needs to be in there, man.
Huey.
Huey's amazing.
Some people disagree with this one because they're kind of like dance rock or groove rock. I don't know what you call these guys, but In Excess. I've always been an In Excess guy. Kick and
yeah.
I
they were kind of weird. They like bridged the gap between classic rock and like 80s pop rock, I guess.
Yeah, like if the lead singer was a combination of Mick Jagger and Jim Morrison.
Yeah, you had the looks for Jim Morrison. Yeah,
right. So, Kool and the Gang. Kool and the Gang is on the list.
Oh, wow.
I love Kool and the Gang. Come on.
I thought they'd be in there.
Right? Jethro Tull is always being talked about. There's a lot of people that are upset that Jethro Tull are not in there. And it's not because they beat up Metallica that one year for Best Metal. Megadeth.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Come on. And
Megadeth.
This one, I looked this one up twice because I couldn't believe it, but twice. Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Rock than Motley Crue. Come on.
That was kind of interesting because here I'm talking about these groups that destroyed hair metal, but Motley Crue is definitely like the kings of that whole.
They kind of started
whole era
kind of deal there, right? Like
They
Van Halen started it, but they took it to a new level.
Yeah.
The Monkees are not in, and a lot of people rip on the Monkees because they didn't play their own instruments and stuff like that. But neither did the Beach Boys. They had fantastic songs. They didn't really write most of their songs. They had good songwriters and everything. But
I love me the Monkees, man.
The Offspring, love me the Offspring. Huge fan of the Offspring. Pantera.
Oh yeah.
Phil Collins solo. Now he's in for Genesis.
Genesis is in, but Phil Collins isn't.
Was there anybody that you heard on the radio more in the 80s that, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing.
Yeah.
He was everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about earlier, Paul Simon.
Exactly.
Not being in, but Simon and Garfunkel.
Why aren't they doing the slashes for him?
Yeah. We need some more slashes.
Yep. Here's another slash for you. 2 in a row. Sammy Hagar. I mean, I'm more of a David Lee Roth guy with Van Halen, but if you like the Van Halen and solo, his solo stuff, it's pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah, I was considering them too.
Stone Temple Pilots, STP, they should be in. How about this one for our buddy Lee? Tool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tool. They should be eligible by now.
Yeah, they were really unique.
Yeah. And then some other snubs that I saw written in other articles and websites. As mentioned, you mentioned the B-52s. Barry White.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
I couldn't get my voice that low to do Barry White, but
yeah, Barry White.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Beck.
Yeah, I actually really thought about including Beck. I just was trying to figure out my feelings on him.
Yeah.
But I love Beck a lot.
I remember that's another one that during that same era is we were listening to a lot of Beck. Kind of like a palate cleanser from all the dark.
Yeah.
Because you listen to his songs, you're like, what is he talking about? It doesn't matter. He's just making
he's
lyrics.
pulling.
It doesn't matter.
Did I might have mentioned this before, but his father was a member of the Dada art community, the Dadaist.
Really?
And they were basically what Beck's music was when he first started. They were committed to just making art nonsense as
really?
as like a rebellion to like all the structure of art of that era. And
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so his dad built these machines that would destroy themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's crazy.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Just list off a couple other ones here. Billy Idol, Cher.
Oh, wow.
Cher, you know, it's funny. Cher
still
holds the record for the only artist in history to have a number one hit in the 60s, number one hit in the 70s, number one hit in the 80s, and a number one hit in the 90s. So that's pretty wild. Think about that.
I don't. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, Cher's another one of those people that, I mean, it's like the Monkees, I guess. Like she doesn't write her stuff. She doesn't play her own instruments. It's like Elvis. Like did Elvis? No.
Yeah.
Like the Monkees belong in there just as much as Elvis, right? I mean, maybe not just as much, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, Hank Williams Jr. He had a ton of, you know, like Monday Night Football alone. Come on. Mariah Carey, Outtake.
Yep.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, for sure. Smashing Pumpkins was they're making music again that is actually really good. And there's a while when Billy Corgan was putting out music that wasn't too exciting, and I listened to some of their most recent music, and I was like, wow, sounds a lot like the 90s Pumpkin stuff.
Yeah. Did you ever get a chance to see them live?
No, I wish.
I got to see them live right before they broke up, and I always tell people, I go, there's a reason why I saw them right before they broke up, because it was a mess. It was a mess. Like I was working at the rock station at KISW, and I go, hey man, I got tickets to the Smashing Pumpkins, and it was like his favorite group. He's like so excited, and like we went, and like we were looking at each other, we're like, what is this? Like they went electronic. It was like in 2000 or something like that, and they were doing all of their hits, but electronic sounding. And it's like, what is this shit? We're like, this is horrible. I didn't know what any song was. I looked at him. I felt so bad because like, I was like, finally, he's like, oh, I'm so excited. I can finally get to see the Smashing Pumpkins. And I was like, yeah. And then they broke up. Literally, I think they went down to Portland. I think that was the last show. And then that was it.
Man.
They were done for, I don't know how many years.
Oh man. Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah. And then the last one I had down on the list, you know, they had a couple, I think they had like 3 big albums, but Tears for Fears. I think that one big album.
Yeah.
That one that came out in 85 with like Shout and Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Is there any more iconic 80s song than Everybody Wants to Rule the World? Like it might be the most 80s song in history.
Yeah, they and then they had that song that got really popular again. I can't remember. It was in Donnie Darko.
Oh yeah, Mad World.
Yeah, Mad World.
Yeah.
And they kind of made a comeback through like the independent circuit. I was like, whoa, that was Tears for Fears. Wow, okay. I guess there's more to them than I expected.
Yeah, dude, I've seen it twice in concert. Isn't that weird?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're good. They're good. They're a good band. All right, so Johnny, we're gonna move on. This is it. We're gonna give we're gonna hopefully quickly give our personal selections. So who are now you pick 5, because I think you can pick 5. Now, who are your 5 from the main list that came out this year who are going to be your selections for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? We'll do after this, we'll do who you think will be in, but first, what are your selections?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Tribe Called Quest, The Spinners,
boom,
Soundgarden,
nice,
Willie, Iron Maiden,
yes,
and that's it.
All right, solid list, man, solid list. I think that mine is like very rock heavy.
I tried to cover the different some of the different ones.
You're smart. Well, I mean, this is like your picks too. So, but
thank you.
Yeah, I went with Iron Maiden. Remember, I said that was the most solid one. I think that is on the list.
don't for sure.
I can't see that them not making it in, but you never know. I think Judas Priest like got a special induction last year or whatever. So like, you're still not officially in. You're like, you get a special musical award for whatever.
First alternate.
Whatever that was. They created an award, whatever.
Wow.
They don't like metal. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like not very big into the metal scene. But so I picked Iron Maiden. I picked Soundgarden. I picked Rage Against the Machine, the White Stripes, and Sheryl Crow.
All right.
Now, my list is wildly different for who I think is going to get in. But John, who do you think is going to get in? Now, is your list kind of like similar to what you think or to what you had?
Well, I got 2 on the list.
Okay.
So, and this is going basically off of the polls for the fan votes that I voted on today on the official page. You can vote as a fan.
Right.
And so number 1 on the list with 124,000 votes is Cyndi Lauper, which I was like, wow, top of the list. I didn't expect that. George Michael, probably. Musically, I'm not sure if he's there yet. I mean, it's not like he's going to put out more music, but I just didn't see the impact.
Again, you give him that slash. And I think
and the stuff he did, like politically and socially, if that was one of the facets of requirements and stuff of getting in, then yeah, for sure, I'd see that. Warren Zevon, for some reason, I just don't see that one. But then right down there in 4th and 5th is Soundgarden and Willie. So
yeah,
I got a few. I got a few that I'm.
Yeah.
Maiden is right after that, so I got high hopes that Maiden might make it.
So are those the ones that you're going to go with as far as you think is going to make it in as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just going to go straight fan poll.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I think that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's become such an event that they want people to perform there, right? I think that they want people to show up. I want them. I think
make some money, I guess.
Like they want an event. They want to be able to present people with an award and give a speech and blah 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 blah. So the people that I don't think will be inducted this year
are the ones that aren't alive.
Soundgarden, Warren Zevon, George Michael. I think they'll eventually get in, but for some reason, I think Soundgarden should definitely be in. I think it should be a no-brainer, but just me. I don't know. I have a hunch. Now, the artists that I do think that will get in are Iron Maiden. I think that I had Kate Bush or Cyndi Lauper because Cyndi Lauper was like you said, was like at the top of like the fan poll, and I think they give like an automatic win to whoever wins the fan poll or whatever. I don't know how it works. I'm not sure, but Kate Bush, Kate Bush is like the biggest thing now. Everyone's like a huge Kate Bush fan. I mean, we didn't even hear about her back in the day, but now she's everywhere. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah, if she won, I would lose. I mean, I know a lot of people have lost a lot of faith in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but
right,
I for sure would. And that's coming from someone who thinks she's really cool and likes some of her songs a lot.
Yeah. I also think Joy Division / New Order is probably going to make it in.
Wow.
It's not even fair. You have a twofer? Like what's that? What is that?
And maybe because it's such a different like genre of music that I don't know. Maybe they just want to kind of diversify. I could see that. Yeah.
And then I had For the Influence again. I had a Tribe Called Quest, and you have to have Willie. I mean, come on, to have a 90-year-old guy playing it. Come on. You got to go. You have to go Willie. Willie should be in there anyways.
You should know Tribe was at the very bottom of the list.
Are you serious? That means they definitely got again.
I would love to see them perform. That'd be amazing.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome. All right, Johnny, any final thoughts on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and any of the nominations or the future inductions? Do you have anything else you want to add to this episode here?
Yeah, it was I haven't really paid attention to these in quite a while, so it was kind of fun going through these, seeing who was on the list, being surprised by who was on the list, and being surprised by who wasn't already in. I think this is probably something it'd be nice to touch up on every year, and just for the fun of it, see what's going on.
Everyone stay tuned for that. We'll have to figure out how bad we did on our selections. I have a feeling that you're going to do a lot better than me. I just went like all rock. I'm like, all right, it's not going to be mine. But
I just kind of went with American culture and went with what was popular. So usually if you go with popularity, you're going to win.
Yeah, they have to kind of represent more of kind of a little bit about everything that covers society now, right? I mean, like, not really. Like everyone says, it shouldn't be the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame anymore. It should be like maybe the Music Hall of Fame, or
totally. That's kind of what I was thinking. There's just so much more than just rock now that they kind of can't ignore it.
Yeah.
But it seems silly calling it rock and roll when they got like hip hop, country, which is kind of country rock.
Mm-hmm.
And it just keeps expanding, which is good.
All right, man. Well, John, thanks again for coming on the show. It's always
for sure,
awesome talking to you. It's so fun, and we'll have to do it again, man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. All right. For John Rajcich, I'm Josh, and as always,
that's right. There you go.
Thank you for being a friend. Woo! Rock on!